This is a certified
Bob Sponge 10.
classic.
Hello there, Bob Sponge faithful. 5 years ago today, November the 7th, the year of our Lord 2018, I started my YouTube channel. And here we are, a triumphant 5 years later. So today we're going to be doing a tier list co-host tier list. I'm going to be tier listing everybody I've ever collaborated on a tier list with, including myself. And this ranking is not a reflection of how much I like these people in real life. It's only based on their tier list performance. So, first of all, we've got somebody who never actually appeared in a tier list, although he has been mentioned in a couple, and that is Mike. He was supposed to be in the Jewfro tier list, which is, for some reason, one of my most popular... I think it is actually my most popular video ever. But, yeah, I didn't feel like adding his picture, so he didn't make the cut. But I can only assess him based on what he would have been on the Jewfro tier list. And his hair is quite curly and quite Jewish, but it's not really a fro. It does have good... It has good flow, but it's definitely not an afro. I'd say, based on my Jewfro tier list, it's probably around C tier. So now we've got DJ, who only appeared in one tier list, and that would be the quotation marks cultural tier list from a long time ago. And unless you have your volume up extremely loud on that video, you probably didn't hear a word he said, because we were all crowded around my laptop microphone, and he was sitting the farthest away from it. But he made some good comments during that video. It's hard to say. I mean, if we could actually hear what he said, he would be higher, but most of it is just unintelligible, which, to be fair, is completely my fault. But, you know, I have to put him in. I cannot justify putting him any higher than C tier, unfortunately. And now we've got Max, who was in probably one of my better videos that I've done. He was also a one tier list wonder. He was in the church hymns tier list. And though we may never know how he would have performed in future tier lists, all I can say is that he came in really clutch in that church hymns tier list. I was a big fan of that video. I was a fan of how it turned out, and that is in large part due to Max and his remembering of a lot of church hymns that we couldn't remember the tune to, because there's a lot that are like, oh man, that sounds familiar, but I don't know the tune. Well, he knew the tune. So he's going to go in S tier for that, legendary performance, we'll say. Now we've got Joseph Mama from many a Survivor tier list, and also the quotation marks cultural tier list, and that church hymns tier list I was just talking about. And his performance, I would say, overall, is very good. He gives consistently good commentary, and my only negative would be in a couple of the Survivor tier lists, we didn't go into very good depth on some of the characters, but I mean, some of these people, there's just not that much to talk about. Overall, very solid performances. I'll give him A tier. Now we've got the person who I've probably spent the longest amount of time tier listing with. He was in all of my longest tier lists. All of the One Piece tier lists, and the Jujutsu Kaisen tier list, and the Bottled Water tier list. His commentary is, just like Joseph Mama's, very solid and very consistent. His, I would say, is very, very good. He limits himself on the One Piece tier list because he doesn't want to give stuff away. I think he's not operating at his full potential, perhaps, because if he did, he would be giving away too many spoilers to myself and Vibe Dungeon, who are not caught up on One Piece. But the commentary he does give is, like I said, very good. Now we've got Vibe Dungeon, like I said earlier. He was also in all of my One Piece tier lists and the Jujutsu Kaisen tier list. But he was not in the bottled water tier list, which is why Jason 11 is my most frequented tier list collaborator. So, Vibe Dungeon is a bit of a mixed bag, we'll say. Sometimes he gives excellent commentary. It's like S tier stuff. He's getting really deep into the lore of One Piece, and he's just going so in depth in all these characters and really thinking deep about what he's talking about. But sometimes he will there have been a couple of performances that I notice where he will sometimes like make noises during the recording, or like he'll fixate on one unfunny joke and repeat that a lot. Not that all of us don't do that to some extent, but his performance, sometimes it's S tier, sometimes it's like C tier, but overall it's very good. I would say for the most part it's like A tier. His highs are very high, but he does have a few lows in there mixed in. I just got to keep it real with you folks. Nobody escapes the harsh cruelties of criticism. My sister has been in one tier list, and that was the Survivor Pearl Islands tier list, and trying to get her to give any meaningful commentary was like pulling teeth. I mean, she was just so unhelpful and she was just such a non-factor that it really, really annoyed me. And that's why she hasn't been in another tier list. So, there you go. Myself. Now, to rate my own performance, I would say that I would give myself the Most Improved award, to be honest. When I started making tier lists back in I think it was like 2019 when I started making tier lists, I was really bad. My solo ones were okay, but doing anything with other people, I think it had a really sharp learning curve for me. But, I got better, and now I feel like I'm pretty good at tier listing with other people and not, stepping on their toes and whatever. And, I feel like I am able to wring opinions out of people sometimes when they maybe are not inclined to give them, and, keep the conversation going that way. To rate my overall performance, I would say it's about average. These days, I might put myself more so in A tier, but looking at my full body of work, I think B tier is appropriate. So, that is the Bob Sponge 10 tier list co-host tier list. It's been a pleasure these last 5 years, and hope for another 5 just like it. And by just like it, I mean way better, because I only have 82 subscribers. Bye.